Here we go. We are live. We
Awesome.
are live here on the journey of success. I'm gonna give it a minute for some individuals to come on in. I know one time I was late. They was like, Yolanda, they was texting me. I was like, I'm coming.
All right. Well,
So they will be popping on here soon.
yeah. That's
You
awesome.
guys come on in to the journey of success. I have a good treat for
Yes.
you all tonight.
Mhm.
Are you in Georgia?
Yeah, I'm in Florida.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm in the Tampa
awesome.
Bay
Oh,
area.
y'all okay out there?
Yeah, we're doing good. Yeah, the
Good,
hurricane.
good. Good. Hello, Facebook user.
Yeah.
Hello, they are coming in. Hello, Tiara. Thank you. I don't know who Facebook user is, but thank you so much. Hey, Rakia. Well, we're gonna get started, you guys. Florida in the house. We're gonna get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our StreamYard Live. My name is Yolanda Smith. I am the Life Coach Navigator. I am here to and committed to helping you navigate the challenges with life and financial complexities of life. I am here to guide you towards the best version of you. This show is all about sharing inspiring stories of successful individuals and how they navigate through ups and downs of life to achieve their goals. You guys, I have a very special guest here tonight. He is an entrepreneur, he's a branding expert. He's the founder of a leading web design and marketing agency. He also specializes in crafting compelling brand identities that not only attracts clients but also drives revenue growth. Who don't like revenue growth? I love it. So, you guys, welcome tonight, Mr. Wellington Bright.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Thank you for having me,
welcome,
Yolanda.
welcome. I am super excited that you are here tonight.
I'm excited also. Excited to talk.
Awesome. Before we get started, can you tell me a little bit, tell me and the listeners a little bit about you?
All right. Yeah. I'm happy to be on. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So about me, I am an entrepreneur. First and foremost, I'm a man of God. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a husband. And I run, as you mentioned, I run a marketing agency. Been doing it for the past 10 years now. And I have two little ones as well, 4 and 6 year old. And at the end of the day, I just live my life according to how God leads in all areas, whether it's in business, whether it's as a husband, as a dad. And I just enjoy, living and being led by God. And at the end of the day, encouraging others, inspiring others also along the way. It's something that I do. But yeah, my whole life just revolves around God, family, and business. That's who I am at my core, pretty much.
I love that. I love that. Tell us a little bit. How did you get into the field that you're in? Like, where did it all begin?
Oh man, it began years ago. Yeah, it I would say it first started with me really getting into entrepreneurship first before really getting into the field I'm in right now. I would say early on, I'm in my 30s, so probably about 18, 19 is when I started realizing, even 20, when I started realizing I had like this entrepreneurship bug in me, so to speak. So my wife and I, we met in high school. We're dating at that time. Yeah, so it kind of started early with both of us, early on, I would say about, yeah, 19, 20 years old. When I graduated high school, and I was going to college. Everybody, that's the next path naturally. Everyone's like, you graduate, go to college. So at
Mhm.
that time, I wasn't really ready though. I didn't know what I wanted to major in. I didn't know any of that. But I figured I was like, well, I like computers, so maybe I'll major
Mhm.
in computer science. And that's what my major was. And when I went to school in Georgia. But the thing is, I don't like math. I'm horrible at math. I suck at math. And I got to school and realized that computer science major requires you to take all these math classes.
Oh
So
no.
yeah, it was really horrible for me the first 2 years. I struggled all along the way. But while I was at school, so I'm 2 years older than my wife, so she was in high school still at the time. While I was at school, a friend of mine, Darius, we came across Photoshop, in college, and we started dabbling in it. Started watching a lot of YouTube tutorials at the time, trying different things. And along the way, became pretty decent at it. That people were sending me pictures to edit for them. Other organizations would pay me to kind of design flyers, create logos, and that kind of got my start a little bit at that time. And then what happened was my wife graduated from high school, and then I transferred from the school I was in Georgia to University of Maryland Eastern Shore. We wanted to go to the same college, the same university together. So we got there, started doing school, and I don't know for you guys who are on who may remember the MySpace days.
Yes.
Yeah, you could change your profile and add codes and all that stuff. So my wife learned coding from MySpace when she was on there. So we decided we wanted to kind of start a business, and I didn't know how to build websites at all at the time, and that's all I do full time now. And she didn't know how to do graphic design at all. So she said, "Hey, Photoshop, how to design things. I can teach you some coding, like how to program and build websites." So I said, "That sounds good." So we kind of exchanged skill sets in that way. I kind of taught her graphic design, how to design things. She taught me basic coding, HTML, CSS, how to build websites in that way. And together we kind of started doing business in that way. Initially, we didn't do it officially like register a business, but we started offering services at that time, and that's pretty much how it got started. It got started with us doing that. So we didn't really know at that time that for the rest of our lives we wanted to do, let's say, marketing or branding of websites. It was just something as young adults to make some money, because we would
Yeah.
come home for the summers every summer. And this is where we realized we wanted to be entrepreneurs. We would come home every summer and it would be like, well, how can we make money this summer? Legally, of course, ethically, or without having to work a job. So
Right.
yeah, we were so both living with our parents. So we had little bills, just a phone bill and a car bill, but we just wanted to kind of hang out and have time together. So
Mhm.
we would come up with all these different ideas to make money for
Mhm.
the summertime before going to school. And that's kind of how we realized that we really wanted more creative control over our lives. And that's how we
Mhm.
realized we really want to be entrepreneurs. And I'll share one story with you. Like, so one summer, so many different ideas. One summer we came home and we had cameras, like little digital cameras at the time. And we
Mhm.
said, okay, we could take pictures. We're pretty decent at it. So no one even taught us these skills. We kind of learned as we went along. And we came home one summer and we decided to just do photos for daycares, home daycare. So we found a whole bunch of home daycares online, phone numbers, and I would be at her dad's house and we would just sit there cold calling daycares. They were like 21 years old. And we were like, yeah. And the way we figured it out was like, hey, maybe if we charge 25, 30 a head, we could make this amount of money from it and stuff. And most home daycares we found had like 20, 30 students in it or kids in it. And we just cold called a whole bunch of home daycares. And at that time, we're living in Springfield, Massachusetts. So yeah, we started calling, and then people started answering, no, no, no. Then we got a few yeses. We were excited. We never done anything like that before, and we booked some of them. We would drive out there, uh, do the photo shoot, give them the pictures, get paid, and we did that the whole summer. It was a random idea,
Oh,
made
wow.
money that way. Yeah, then the following summer came. What are we gonna do this summer? So we sat there, we know how to do graphics, so we decided we used to design like Christian portraits, like with Bible verse on it. So we went to Staples, printed out in colors, like 50 cents or $1 to print out this nice size graphic
Mhm.
Bible verse on it. Then we went to Walmart. They sold frames, and the frames we would get would be like $10, $15. We put the graphic in there, and then we went to colleges and universities that had like a fairs, so you have vendors there and things like that. And we resold most of those frames to people for like 30, $40 they paid for it. So, and we
Wow.
did that whole summer and made money again. So it was a constant thing where we really realized over and over, we just like to do things for ourselves, create our own income. Because at the end of the day, whether you work a job or you're an entrepreneur, everyone's looking to make revenue, looking to
Mhm.
make money. It's just how you go about it. And we
Mhm.
valued our time a lot. We wanted to be able to hang out, go on dates, do all these things. So we were like, that's why we didn't want to work a job those summers. So we just kind of came up with all these creative ways to make money and do that. And that's kind of how I got into entrepreneurship, so to speak. And then, of course, later on, we moved from those ventures into just focusing on websites and marketing and everything else like that.
Oh my God, that's an amazing story. Like, for all of you college kids out there, look, get your hustle on. Look, if you want to date,
Mhm.
look, you want to spend some time together, it takes money. It takes
Yeah.
money. So you
Yes.
have to figure it out. That's an amazing story. So your wife helped you with the business as well?
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say we officially launched. So from Massachusetts is where my wife is from. I was born in Texas, but she's from Massachusetts. We moved down to Texas when we were like 20, 22, 23 years old. And I would say that's when we really experienced any real type of success with business. And we started a website design and marketing agency together. And yeah, we were both doing it together. early on for years. It was only recently that maybe past 2 or 3 years she stepped out of the business to kind of do some ministry work, But I tell everyone she's my partner in all things. So even without her being so full time in the business, she's always my advisor on everything that I do. So yeah, in that way, we've been doing the business together since then.
That is awesome. So have there been any big challenges that came along the way? And if so, like how was that handled? How did you handle it?
Yeah, there are always challenges. I would say from whether it's the beginning of the journey, the middle, later on, there's always challenges. One of my, I would say, biggest challenges in was probably starting off. When I first registered a business back in, it was like November 2012. At that time, I was actually working for a website design company, doing the
Oh.
work I do now. Yeah, and I had a dream, as most people, I had goals. I wanted to run my own business, so I registered the business, but the struggle I was constantly coming across was that because I worked a 9 to 5, and most entrepreneurs experience this when they're working a job. I
Mhm.
worked a 9 to 5. I would come home and that's when I would work my business. But it was so tough because most clients wanted to meet earlier in the day, and I couldn't do that.
Mm.
So it was really tough. So at that time, I feel like my business was kind of just there. I was making no money. I would just work, and I was trying to get off the ground, but I couldn't really do much. But in like November of 2012, the company I worked for was a small business owner, and great dude. But there was a few times while working for him, we wouldn't get paid. There was like a pay period would come and we miss our checks. So I remember this one time, Christmas of 2012, nobody got paid, and everyone was upset. Me, everybody else, and some guy who worked with was like, "Man, I'm not gonna have enough money to get gifts for my children or anything like that." So over that Christmas vacation, I went to visit family. Didn't really have the funds for it, but at that time, I think that's when I realized I didn't want to work here anymore. Yeah, I already been through it a couple of times, and I kind of made the decision to leave at that time. But I was kind of forced into it in the sense of I was at my cousin's house. It's a funny story. We talk about. I was at my cousin's house and I was telling him the same stuff I was telling you at that time. I was like, "Yeah, I work for this company, and we sometimes don't get paid at all. We miss our pay period, and it sucks, and I'm upset about it." And I didn't realize that while I was talking to him, my phone was in my pocket. It had actually called my boss while I was talking to
Oh my goodness.
him. And I was saying all of these things about I'm unhappy, and yeah, this happens from time to time. He doesn't pay people, and I talked for a while, and then when I looked down, I saw it was like 4 or 5 minutes on the phone, and I
Oh
just felt
wow.
like I didn't know what to do. So I just looked at it for a while and I just hung up. And at that time, I was so embarrassed. I was like, I can't go back there. Yeah, I was like, I can't go back there. So January came. It was like Christmas break was over, New Year's was over, and I didn't go back. I just texted him. I was like, "Oh, I'm not coming back to work." I didn't even want to give him a phone call either. So I'm so embarrassed. So he was like, "When are you gonna pick up your check?" And I was like, "Can you mail it?"
You don't want to face them at all.
So yeah, so it was at that time I was out of a job. It was unexpected, and I had bills that started piling up. But the business was already registered. So
Mhm.
yeah, I was like, I got to figure something out. So one of my old bosses I used to work with before this guy, he called me up and he was like, "Hey, I noticed that I'm retired now. What are you up to?" And I said, "Well, my wife and I we just registered this business, trying to get it off the ground and everything like that." So he's like, "Well, I'm doing nothing. I would love to hear the vision and everything like that." So he said, "I would love to come and help you guys build this business and get it off the ground."
Mm.
And I said, "Okay, that'd be great, but I have no funds to pay you." And his specialty, his name was Philip. His specialty was people would hire him all across the nation, would bring him out to kind of build sales teams and everything like that, motivate them and get them going. So that's kind of what he brought to us. So he said, "No, I trust the vision and everything, and I want to be a part of it." So I was like, "Man,
Wow.
that's awesome." Yeah, it was a great blessing. So I was like, "Well, we got to get going. I don't have a job anymore. Bills are piling up." So for the rest of that year, 2012, I just treated my business like it was a job. Like I would go 9 to 5. You would pick
Mhm.
me up and we would just go out there in the community. I was in San Antonio, Texas at the time. We go out there meeting business owners in person. And at that time, 2012, Instagram wasn't, I don't even know if it was out yet. It wasn't huge. It was a whole bunch of stuff going on. And I wasn't even as great at marketing online as I am now. So at that time, we'd go out there from 9 a.m. to probably 5, 6 a.m., driving around the city, going to different plazas and stuff, getting out, meeting business owners, shaking their hands, and just telling them who we are and what we did. And we did that for a whole year. I
Yeah.
could have sat at home, sat there at home and twiddled my thumbs, but I was like, if I'm gonna do this, it has to be like a job to me in the sense of I would
Mhm.
go out consistently and put in the hours and do it. So we did it that whole year. And after that first year, the San Antonio Business Journal ranked our website company as one of the top 10 website design companies in the city based
Wow.
on the number of business owners we worked with. And that was just because we went out every day consistently meeting so many people, giving them business cards, and of course, following up with them because we say the key is in the follow up. We had to follow up with
Yes.
them
Yes.
multiple times, and it was able to grow our business. So after that first year, we got ranked highly in the city. And then that opened up doors to hire salespeople to kind of start doing what we were doing. So we kind of step back and focus on some other things. But long
Wow.
story short, yeah, that's the initial challenge I went through was, losing my job and just figuring out what am I going to do next. I could have maybe applied for other jobs or believe in myself and say, look, I'm going to go out there and make this work and be consistent with it. And that's kind of what I decided to do. And that's what kind of led me to this point that I am right now.
Wow. I do believe that God had something to do with that because God
Mhm.
knew you wasn't gonna quit yet. And he was
Yeah.
trying to tell you, hey, trust me, I got you. And he was like, okay, I'm gonna get you at the moment you're talking about it.
Right, right.
That was funny. It's funny, but
Yeah,
it was like it was supposed to happen. I know you was
yeah,
embarrassed about it, but it was like supposed to happen. That thing that was gonna push you into
yeah.
your purpose. So
I
I'm glad
agree.
that happened because it seemed like doors open once you left the job and then it started opening up for you. And
Yeah,
that's a good thing. Like that was just motivating to me. I had to like, okay, that just, spoke to me when you said, hey, y'all was going out every day. Like you have to stay consistent with whatever business or whatever you do. If you really want to
mhm,
reach your goals,
right.
you have to stay consistent. And the name of your business is Goal
It's
Setters, or
yeah.
is
So
it
yeah, so I have Goal Setters, which is a business I do with a business partner of mine, just about interviewing. But the business, my marketing agency is called D Bright and Associates. Yeah, so that's the business that I run. Yeah, Goal Setters.
okay? Tell us a
Yeah,
little bit about the Goal Setters.
yeah. So Goal Setters is a platform that a business partner and I, his name is Gerald. He runs a marketing agency also, and we collaborate on so many different things. So we decided to come together and pretty much create a platform that will allow entrepreneurs to be able to share their stories because at the end of the day, hearing what others have gone through can be motivating and inspiring.
Mhm,
And many times people don't realize that there are people out there that have gone through very similar scenarios to you as
mhm,
well. So we
mhm,
came up with this platform to kind of just help to motivate people to capture the stories of entrepreneurs at different stages in their journey, whether you're just starting
mhm,
out, whether you've been doing it for a while. We wanted
mhm,
to be able to have a platform that allows people to share the stories on there. And then another aspect of Goal Setters is also we wanted to be able to connect professionals with those that had certain goals. So whether you can help somebody in the health arena, whether it's life goals, business goals, health goals, we want to take professionals and say, hey, there's some people out here who want to accomplish certain things. Can we connect them to you? Whether you may have a coaching program, whether you may have a mentorship program, and just connect professionals with individuals in order to kind of help them, work on their goals and accomplish them. That's kind of what the Goal Setters platform is all about.
I love that. I
Yeah,
love that. Collaboration is very powerful.
yeah,
It's needed because a lot of people when they start entrepreneurship, they feel like they're so alone. They feel like they don't know who to go to and who they can connect with to kind of because someone that's been out there, let's say if I just started someone been out there 10 or 20 years, I'm gonna feel intimidated to connect with them because I'm gonna feel like, well, I don't know nothing. But to
yeah,
kind of get them together and get them to talking and get them to collaborate, that's very powerful. So I appreciate you doing that. That's really powerful.
yeah,
Yeah. So if I could ask you like if you had a younger self, because I know
yeah,
you said you and your wife met, like it's like everything was working out for you in playing and very young, but
yeah,
if you could go
yeah.
back and ask your younger, kind of tell your younger self something, what would you tell them?
Well, if I had to tell my younger self something, I would honestly say to take my relationship with God more seriously when I was younger. I would say that we all know that money is a tool that can be used. We all needed to pay for different things,
Mhm,
but there are some that live for money, so to speak, where money can really become an idol or become a god. So
mhm,
I would say early on, especially being a young guy in his 20s. I would say I cared about so many things, flashy things, the best cars,
Mhm.
all of these type of things, and some of those didn't lead to the best financial decisions. So,
Right.
so I would tell my younger self to really just focus on God early on and make sure that God is number one above all else. Because there was a time in my life where I would say money clearly was leading the way above
Mhm.
everything else. But I tell people the thing with money is there can be days you get a lot of money and days where you don't have a lot of money. And money, it can be
Mhm.
like a roller coaster ride up and down. And if you
Mhm.
live for money, then your emotions are going to be just like that. Money is there, you're good. And money isn't there, you're low, stressed, depressed,
Mhm.
worried. And that would be me. If we're going through financial challenges early on or whatever it may be, I'd be stressed out, I'd be worried and all that stuff because it was just like I was hungry. And I put all my hope on my trust. And it was just money focused, so to speak.
Mhm.
So I would tell my younger self to be focused more on God, focus on God and everything after. So when you live for God, God is constant, never changing, He doesn't sway. And I always think that, your emotions are dictated by what you live by. So if you live or what you live for, like say you live for money, your emotions will be all over the place as money goes up and down. But if you live for God, God is constant. He never changes. He provides peace, He provides joy, He provides all of these things all of the time to us. So no matter when you do go through trials and struggles and
Mhm.
tribulations, you're always going to be fine mentally and emotionally. Because I still go through challenges today. The only difference is that I have peace and I have
Yes.
joy, and I operate from a totally different mindset and mentality. Whereas though I was making a whole bunch of money early on, I was stressed and worried when things wouldn't
Mhm.
go right, things wouldn't happen. So I would say definitely to surrender to God earlier on and really focus more on God in my early years and focusing on money is what I would tell my younger self.
I love that. I would tell my younger self that too. That's definitely what I'll tell my younger self because I was money hungry. I tell you, like, I'm gonna leave home. I'm gonna make this money. I'm gonna do this, and it was like,
Yeah.
"Woo, child, get yourself together."
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So, talk about. Let's talk about what. Can you tell like the listeners why it's important to set goals?
Yeah, for sure. I believe it's important to set goals because they give you, excuse me, they give you an idea of where you want to go. You have the ability to choose your own goals depending based on your lifestyle, your
Mhm.
beliefs, and what you're trying to accomplish. So goals are important because it's just a picture. But something that we actually say on a goal setters website, because we call it goal setters,
Mhm.
is a goal without a plan is just a wish, which is just it's
Mhm.
great to have goals, but at the end of the day, you have to have a plan in place of how you will execute on those goals. Because
Mhm.
if you have goals like I plan to lose weight, I plan to make X amount of money, I plan to buy my first home, if you just have all of these goals and you never make an actual plan, it's just you're kind of just wishing. So putting
Mhm.
a plan together, drawing out a plan, like they have things something called SMART goals, drawing out a plan of how you're going to go after these things, that's
Mhm.
time bound, that's measurable, that's all of that stuff is going to be so much more powerful in helping you accomplish your goals. So goals are great because it's something to work towards, but you definitely need a plan in order to accomplish those goals that you have set.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's funny you said lose weight because I had I have been planning. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this, and I'll get a gym membership, but I never set like time that I needed to go. And then if
Yeah.
I did, and then I stop, and then it just all over the place. Then I had to really say, Yolanda, okay, these are the
Yeah.
days you're gonna go. Set this time to go.
Yeah.
Make it and look, and there with that consistency again. Keep it
Right.
consistent.
Right. Yes. And that's how you do it because my wife and I mean, and I'm not even perfect in this at all. None of us are perfect in any areas at all. So
Right.
even we even fall short with that today too. Sometimes we'll talk, my wife and I will talk about so many things we want to do, and it'll be two
Uh-huh.
months, 3 months later, we realize we're still talking about it. And we'll be
Yeah.
like, unless we put it down and plan for it, it really doesn't happen. So important to write down the goals
Absolutely.
and go after them.
Absolutely. Can you share a moment when you had to step out of your comfort zone to reach your goals?
Yeah, for sure. It's probably been many different times. So I would say even for now, where I am today, when people see me on social media, I make a lot of videos. They think that naturally this is how I was, but it was like a built up to this area. I wasn't always this outgoing or even talkative. It was something that kind of happened over some time. So I tell people that early on, when I guess when I figured out that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I tried a lot of different things, and a lot of different things I tried, they weren't always in my comfort zone, but I did them because I felt that they would help me get to where I wanted to get to go. So
Mhm.
early on, I tell people before I launch my own business, I got my start even doing a lot of network marketing early on. And when I did network marketing, they would have us going out and talking to random people. And I was very uncomfortable doing that, but I always tell people it was the time that really built me up as well, and got
Mhm.
me comfortable with talking to random people if I needed to start a conversation. But then
Mhm.
also another time was when my wife and I, we weren't married at the time, but we first moved to San Antonio, Texas. At that time, I was trying to be, and that's before we launched our business. I was trying to get a job for months and nothing was working out. And I went ahead and I saw something on Craigslist. Craigslist. It was a door-to-door newspaper job. I had never done something outside door-to-door, anything like that, but nobody was hiring, and I needed to make some money. So even
Right.
in the interview, when I was getting hired, the guy was like, "Nothing on your resume says you've done door-to-door sales or anything like that. Why do you want to do this?" And I was like, "Well, I have bills to pay. I need something to work, so I'm willing to do this if it's going to pay the bills." And it
Right.
was very uncomfortable. I was in Texas. It was in August. It's the hottest time of the year,
Ooh,
and
yes.
we go out to knock on the doors, and people don't like you soliciting. So I had to deal with all of that. But at the end of the day, I knew I had obligation and responsibilities to take care of, so I had to do that. But it's so
Mhm.
interesting. I tell people how God always works through all those things.
Mhm.
That was an area I really didn't enjoy doing like for a while, but I needed to do it. And the person who hired me, his name was Philip. I mentioned him earlier. He was the account director of the San Antonio Express News, and he hired me. He trained me. We went out there with a whole bunch of sales teams. He would drop us off. We'd knock on doors, and it got me to be stronger. It got me to be more confident. People would shut the door. They'll say no. He'll say, "This is how you overcome that." And I learned a lot of things along the way. But not knowing that, fast forward, like once I got a job offer in my field for a website design job, I told Philip, I said, "Hey, I've got something in my field, so I'm going to leave now and everything like that." And he said, "That's fine. Great working with you." We shook hands, and I went to work for a website company. It was the
Mhm.
website company I was talking about earlier. So once I worked for that website company and I left that company to start my own business, that's when Philip from my first job hit me up and he said, "Hey, what are you up to? I'd love to come and join your business and help you grow it." And that was the first boss I had in San Antonio. And he wanted to come and work for me. So I tell people the story to say that if I had never gone on Craigslist or decided to even take that newspaper job, I never would have probably met Philip at all. And it was Philip who really contributed to the massive growth that our business experienced that very first year. He would pick me up every day and we would go out there together building this business. And he was the first boss I worked for in Texas doing door-to-door knocking. So it was out
Wow.
of my comfort zone, but I did it because I had responsibilities to pay. But at the same time, I feel like God really brings certain people into your life for certain
Mhm.
reasons. And
Absolutely.
I met him and it paid off way. We have a great friendship and we also became business partners. And he really helped to take our business to that next level that first year when we started. So yeah, that was the time.
Wow. So on the other side of that comfort zone, what was that?
Say it one more time.
On the other side of your comfort zone, what did you get?
Well, on the other side of that comfort zone, I got a lot of growth. I learned a lot about myself. That I didn't know about myself. I learned that limits I thought before I couldn't get past, I could actually get past them. I learned
Right.
a lot of lessons along the way, and also my mindset, I would say, got stronger. I changed a little bit in my mindset of how I would approach things as well. So on the other side of my comfort zone was success in sense of a renewed mindset,
Mhm.
growth, and a different perspective, and a lot of
Mhm.
different things. But yeah, it
Yeah.
was definitely
Yeah.
it definitely that's on the other
Yeah.
side of it.
Built your confidence too, right?
Exactly, it
Yeah,
did.
that's awesome. That's awesome. So how do you stay motivated and maintain a positive mindset when you're facing obstacles or just throughout a regular day?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say how to stay motivated, just like everything else. I would say you have to continue to get poured into. You know,
Mm,
everything that stops. So I would say for example, like I heard a quote one time. Somebody said, motivation doesn't last. I'm gonna butcher the quote, so I'm not even gonna say that quote. But overall, the way I say motivate is just to be sure I get poured into all the time. So whether it's reading books, specifically I read the Bible a lot. That's my
mhm,
go-to, my first
mhm,
thing to get poured into. And then I read a lot of business books, but I also read a lot of other books also that would be that aren't business, more religious, faith-based books as
mhm,
well. And also surrounding yourself with the right people. You need multiple things, because at the end of the day, if you don't get poured into, you aren't going to stay motivated. You aren't going to at all. So I would say definitely surrounding yourself with the right people. It will help you to stay motivated, but also what you take in. What you watch, what you listen to, all of
Yes.
that stuff will affect your mood and your emotions. So if you aren't taking the right things, you can't expect to kind of feel or be a certain way. So yeah, I would say who you surround yourself with and what you take in will be the key things to staying motivated.
Yes, yes. And I know people laugh at me when my nieces and nephews come over. I'm like, don't fall asleep with that TV on. You don't know what's gonna come on. I believe
Yeah,
in demonic spirits. I believe in stuff
yeah,
taking over your mind. So
yep, yep,
hey, let's keep it positive.
yeah, always, for sure. Watch
Let's
what you
enjoy
take
the
in.
quietness.
Yeah, yeah. Because what you take in, I mean, whether it's good or bad, seeds get planted, and then they
Hmm.
start to sprout. And the more you listen to something, good or bad, the same way, it starts to take
Hmm.
shape in your life. So like fill your mind
Yes.
with the good things, and then you can
Hmm.
start to see things in your life as well.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to be around the right people. If you feel like you're around someone that's draining your energy or draining you, you just gotta remove yourself because it's gonna shift you into a negative person. It's gonna shift your whole demeanor and everything. So you just definitely
Mhm.
have to make sure you are staying keeping those positive things in your brain, in your mind, and surrounding yourself with it.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah, for sure. I would to add to that real quick is I would say there's a quote I've seen that said you're the average of like the 6 or 7 people you hang around. And that's why it's so important to watch who you hang around and realize the circle you're in. Where are they going? What are they reading? What are they taking in? Because
Mhm.
when I was living in Springfield, Massachusetts, when I moved to Texas, I was maybe 21, 21, 22 years old. I had
Mhm.
tried to do business up there for a little bit with some of my peers, but at that time, I almost felt like my mindset was different at that age. Many
Mhm.
many of them weren't trying to do some of the things I was trying to do.
Right.
But environment is key. So when I went to Texas, I found that there were actually a lot of young adults there that were actually trying to be entrepreneurs and do business, and they were really seriously going after their goals. And I think being in that environment really also helped to shape me and impact me because I
Mm,
was around them. I was going to more events. I was listening to things people were talking about, and
mhm.
it affected me. So who you hang around, your environment as well, is definitely key as well to staying motivated
Mhm.
and accomplishing things.
Yes, yes. I actually, sometimes because I'm such a people person, I be want to hang around everybody. I just feel like I can wake up so happy and have all this energy, and I have to really just start evaluating myself because I can have all this and I could be around people and I could be happy. Then all of a sudden I feel like what's wrong with me? I'm just in a bad mood. Like, what
Yeah,
is wrong with me? So I have to learn how to kind of evaluate myself and pay attention to my surroundings. Not saying people are bad people, because
yeah,
sometimes people just have, they go through life as well, but
yeah,
you still have to protect yourself.
yeah, for sure,
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. So let's talk about how do you balance your life and professional pursuing your career. I know you have a family, you have
Yeah.
kids. So how do you kind of balance that with what you do?
Yeah, that's a great question. That was something I would say probably was a struggle for years. I had to figure out. I really had to figure out how to balance so many things, especially with working from home. When I first
Mhm.
started the business, even in late 2012, 2013, we didn't we I was doing it from home. Other than going out there and meeting business owners, I was doing it from home. And what I even learned early on was when I would try to work from home at that time, I couldn't focus. I was in my living room, I would get sleepy, I'll get tired. So I would intentionally leave and go to like Starbucks or somewhere else just to get done work done at that time. So I had to
Mhm.
figure that out early on. But later on, I actually got used to actually working at home. I was able to come back home and work and be totally fine. But I would say when we got married and kids came into the picture, it, it I had more responsibilities, so I had to figure out how to do business, how to still have time with my wife, how to make sure I'm there as dad to spend time with
Mhm.
the kids, and all that just comes down to balance and time, how you do your day, so we came up with a schedule where, for example, Saturdays is our rest days. We call it our Sabbath. We don't do anything on Saturdays. Work business wise, nothing business wise. So we'll spend family time all day long. Family time and also date time with just my wife. And the Sundays we don't do anything either. But yeah, Monday through Friday, I actually have early days, so I can start in the morning. My days are not a full day, so I'll start maybe my day starts officially at 9, but I get up earlier than that. But officially at 9, I'm in the office. I have a home office that I work in.
Mhm.
I'll start my day maybe at 2 or 3. you know After 2 or 3, the goal is I go and see what my wife is doing. We can go somewhere, or we will all go to the park together, with the kids, or we'll try to do something. But I'll say just having things in time blocks. And early on too, I would be so busy with so many calls that sometimes calls would go late in the day. So I came up with a thing where I only took calls on certain days. Also, it's just days I'm like, I don't even do any phone calls at all. It'll just be all work, and the other days will be call days as well. So figuring out how to itemize and put certain things on the schedule in certain ways is what helped me out a lot. But yeah, as far as balancing, is just it's working, figuring out the time you have in a day, dedicating a certain
Mhm.
amount of that time to family, dedicating a certain amount of time to business, figuring out what that time frame is going to be like, and just really executing on it, and not being so tied into your work. I was fortunate enough to get started early before I had a full family when I was a young adult. So I was I was the person working all the time, but and I wasn't taking enough rest, and that became overwhelming.
Mhm.
So I'm a big advocate of resting, because I know I hear everybody say these days, go as hard as you can, never stop working. But you can crash at the same time.
Entrepreneurs don't sleep. I need
Yeah,
some sleep.
exactly. Right. And as I've gotten older, I'm like, no, this power in being able to be well rested, and be in the right mind, because you can get burned out. It's a real thing.
Mhm.
So yeah. So over the years, I've learned how to really just divide my time up in a way that matters the most, and it's most impactful for my family. But yeah, my
Mhm.
working, as an entrepreneur, it's important to me. I make sure it does not go all day long. And though I work from home, I try not to take my work from home, because literally I could go in any area of the house and go on a laptop and work. But I try to make sure I only work in the office. I stay on my phone at certain times. Family time, we have a word where we'll say disconnect. Like if for any reason me and my wife are hanging out, or we're the kids, and maybe she's on her phone scrolling, I'm like, hey, disconnect is our word. That just lets you know, hey, you're on your phone, and this is supposed to be like a hanging out time. So just little things like that, it helps
I
you
like
focus.
that. I need to implement that in my family plan. Disconnect.
Yep. So
Yes,
once
I
you do
am
that,
a boy mom. I'm the only woman in this house. I don't get to have little tea parties and dress up party. I got boys,
yeah,
like they love devices, they love rough playing. So,
yeah,
so I'm like, okay, now I like that. I
yep,
noted that
yeah.
for myself.
Yeah, that's what we use. Because these days everyone's on the phone. Do you pick it up? You go on your phone. You don't even realize that you're scrolling through things. And it can
Mhm.
happen in hangout time, and then you aren't really paying attention to what's happening. You're missing those moments and memories and stuff. So if I notice she's on, or she noticed, what do you say, disconnect? And I was like, oh, my bad. I didn't realize. And then just kind of put the
Yeah,
phone away and kind of get
yeah.
focused on the moment again. Yeah.
Yeah, I realized when I had to do a schedule with my husband, I saw him on my schedule. He booked the time for me. I was like, this is so sad. I was like, no, we get it together. Let's schedule this
Yeah.
time. He was like, I got to get on your schedule just to get some time. I was like, oh, that's so bad.
Yeah.
Who are some of your biggest supporters during your journey?
Yeah, during my journey, my biggest supporter who's always has been my wife all along the way, but
Mhm.
also my family as well. My parents
Awesome.
as well. I would say early on, it was funny. My parents had to get used to what I was doing because it was just a mindset. You graduate and then you go to college.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
I dropped out of college. So I went to school in Georgia, did like my first 2 years there,
Mhm.
Payne College. It was an HBCU,
Oh
and then
yeah.
yeah, to the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. All my credits didn't transfer over, so in a way, I kind of started over a little bit. But
Mhm.
long story short, once we started doing our business, I was still in school. It started going well. I ended up dropping out and just kind of doing business, and that was probably different from my parents. It wasn't probably something they had in mind for me or what they wanted. So
Mhm.
I think for the first couple of years, it was just like, so when are you going to go back to school? When are you going to go back to school?
Uh-huh.
Wow. I think until they saw that what I was doing was sustainable. That I was
Mhm.
able to provide for myself, my family, and pretty much just live life. So I think it took a few years, but after that, they were on board, 100% supporting me and everything. It was just something different for them and new for them to get used to. But yeah, my wife, my parents, and definitely so interesting. So many random people I met along the way that I didn't know before, that I kind of met through social media, that we've partnered up and we've supported each other along the way. So been a lot of random
Mhm.
people that have been some really big big supporters along the way as well. So it's been very interesting.
Yes. And that's how we met, right?
Exactly, exactly.
So, yes, and in my journey too, because I look back and unfortunately I don't have the support of my family that
Yeah,
I would love. But hey, I keep going. I keep going. They'll say, "Hey, we're proud of you," and that's all I'm gonna get from them, and I appreciate that. I'll take that.
yeah,
But just on my journey when I first started my life coaching business, I was meeting random people, and I'm from a small town, so
yeah,
random people is not that's skeptical to me. Who is
yeah,
this? So, but I had to learn how to. That was one of my comfort zone of just getting out to know people
yeah,
and things like that. And I met my Brandon, photographer
yeah,
through social media. I know Keisha, right? I met her, my
yeah,
tax lady,
yeah.
she's one of my best friends now. We're really good friends. We're like sisters.
Awesome.
We've been helping each other. We motivate each other. We support one another in any ventures that we do. And these
Yeah.
are all the people I've met on social media.
Oh,
Like
look at that.
it is like
Yeah,
it's like my circle I could call and we can kind of
yeah,
motivate each other and get each other through the day. And it's like God always have a way of saying, hey, when you feel like you lost something, you really haven't, you're gaining, you're gonna
yeah,
gain a lot of that back. So I have a lot of support from social media and continue to meet people, because I don't even know how you and I became friends on social media,
yeah.
but I
I
appreciate
have no idea.
it.
Yeah,
And I see we going on each other posts, just motivating each other, saying, even just good morning. I know I got a good morning message from you one morning, and
yeah,
I appreciate that. It was like one of the rough mornings I had, and to tell you that I really appreciate that from you. To
yeah,
a random stranger, don't know nothing about me,
yeah,
just say, good morning, have a good day. And then most
yeah,
of the time you get those messages, you're looking for something else to come behind it. Nothing came behind it. I was like, well,
yeah,
good morning. It was like, and that was it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
for that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm definitely a big. I really believe in building relationships authentically,
Mhm,
and even with our marketing agency, that's something we teach even to our clients that we coach with, is because we've seen it done so many ways where we do need sales, we do need to grow, but we're big believers in build a relationship with somebody,
mhm,
and finding out if there's a need that you can help, great. If there's not a need, that's totally fine also, because out of
mhm,
a relationship, so many different things can come, collaborations, or they refer people to you and you refer people to them. So yeah, I'm big on building relationships, and
mhm,
it's interesting how you say you've also met so many people on social media that you connected to, because I met so many people on social media, and off also that we've had some great partnerships that really impacted my business and life that were very
mhm,
I wasn't expecting. So I'm always open to meeting new people. I'll tell you a quick story. I know in 2016, so initially, so I run a company now, and my company agency now is called D Bright and Associates. But
mhm,
initially, we had two different companies. So once we launched in 2012, our website design was called Project 1000. At that time, the only thing we did was visual branding, building websites, logos,
oh, wow.
business, all of that stuff. And in
Mhm,
2016 is when I launched D Brian Associates. And over time, we merged the two. But long story short, when I launched my marketing agency in 2016, a random lady hit me up on Instagram. She was in Belgium, and she just said she saw my post, she loved it, and she said she had been writing so many marketers and nobody responded to her. And I was the one person who wrote her back, and she was asking some
mhm,
questions, needed some tips. So I gave her some tips, and then from there, that led her into saying, "Hey, I just published a book. I love to hire you to manage my Instagram account and get the exposure for the book." So she hired me, and we worked on that account together. It went well, and then she said, "Hey, I'm a business strategist. And what I do is I put together strategies for companies, but I don't actually implement them. I just kind of give it to them. I would love to see if we can partner up and your company can execute upon these strategies." So I said, "Okay, that sounds pretty good." And I've never met her in person. It's always been through Zoom, and she's like in Belgium. So
mhm,
we partnered together in that way, and we got some of our larger client accounts out of that relationship, and we were managing like Ben and Jerry's, Belgium, all the U.S. companies that were based in Belgium. She would go to those meetings for Nike and Coca-Cola. She would sit in those meetings, close deals, and she'd be like, "Hey, D, we got another one," and we would just
mhm.
go ahead and execute on the
Wow.
campaign. Yeah, we never met in person at all. It was a random message I got to respond to on Instagram,
Mhm,
and we ended up connecting so well, partnering together and doing business together. And a lot of my partnerships have come about randomly, just like that. One last thing I'll tell
mhm,
you about is I used to do interviews early on with my cousin too, back in like 14 maybe about that time. And we interviewed this one guy who he was running the largest flag football league in Texas at the time. I think so. He still runs it. But yeah, we interviewed him. Never, I didn't know him before that. He was my cousin's friend. We shook hands. I left a business card in his hand. After a year of that interview, he contacts me. He needed some website help. I gave him the website help. And then he said, hey, you know what? I'm starting this new company where we're going to be designing a lot of flag football flags. And I need a designer. I'd love to partner with you on that for you to make the design for these flag football flags. So I was like, awesome. So we partnered together and we ended up doing like over 300, 400, 500 flags that shipped all over the US to other countries, printing them, designing them. And now the partnership we worked on, so I was in a totally different city. And I met him randomly also through an interview. I never knew him before that. But we did business together. And I've seen this pattern in my life just over the years. I continue to meet people and we end up vibing and collaborating and something ends up coming out of it. And I'm just like, God, move the pieces around, So
yes,
awesome. Yeah. All through social media.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, when social media, Facebook and all that first came out, everybody thought, oh, this is a waste of time. This is a distraction. But now you get to market your business. It's like, how you ride down the highway, you see these billboards, you see all this stuff. Now you can do it on social media where I don't even have to ride down the street to see your advertisement. Like I can literally see it from the comfort of my own home. So marketing is so important. And trust me, I know from being this little country girl, coming from this little small town trying to start a business, I was all over the place. And someone took me in, and they like we got to get this together. Like my Brandon guy, and I talk about him a lot, and I'm always grateful for him. He reached out to me and he was like, can I help you? And I was like, yes, and we've been really good friends ever since. And he's still helping me along the way and just still continues meeting people. He introduced me to a lot of different people as well. So just having this marketing, just not only for your business, but to collaborate and to get to know other people is very, very powerful.
Very, very.
That's true. Can you share with us some of your principles that you live by that have helped you through your journey?
Yeah, most definitely. I know we touched on one earlier. To be authentic is one, especially in the age of social media. It's extremely easy to be fake and to portray I guess an image in which you are not is very easy. So I'll say so that's first and foremost, just be authentic, be your real self. I learned this early on because I'll say this, when I first got into business, I was young, like I said, early 20s, and I thought I would sit in meetings and I would try to be so serious, and I was like, I have to be this certain type of look. But over the time, I realized that I joke, I laugh. I'll go to so many meetings with clients now, and it's just like I'm joking, I'm laughing. We're just friends. But early on, it's almost like I didn't really build a friendship. I was just like so serious, like I have to do business and all that type of stuff. And it wasn't really who I was, So I said, be authentic to who you are. If you're a jokester, you're whatever, that's fine. Because especially in branding and marketing, there's a quote that says your vibe attracts your tribe. It's like people, you're gonna attract people who are into who you are, like your personality, your characteristics. If you're somebody who likes to laugh, who you joke, I mean, there are people you're going to come across who are going to appreciate that, and it's going to make your relationship working together so much better. So being authentic to who you are is very, very important. I would say definitely in business, you want to be authentic. And then two, though we're all in business to make money and to make revenue, or even if you're working a job, you're so trying to get an income, is definitely, I say, focus on really just building, like we said, honest relationships with people. Don't have an ulterior motive. Just get to know people, get to see who they are. If you can bring value to their life, great. If they can bring value to yours, great. If you guys can both collaborate and work together, awesome. So I live by that. Also, just try to meet as many people as I can. How can I impact them? How can they impact me? Or how can we together impact the world? Whatever it may be. So, and then integrity, also just being a person of your word, doing what you say, saying what you do, even to the extent of your own detriment. So I really try to, if I say I'm going to be at somewhere, I'm going to be there. If I say I'm gonna do this for you, I'm gonna try to do it. Even if plans come up and I'm like, man, I'm so tired, I don't feel, to my detriment, I got to keep my word because this is what you're going to know me by. So those are just some values that I live by, and I think it's great for others to live by because it's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, that integrity, when you say you're gonna be there, be there. My mentor say that all the time. So I don't know if he's watching, but I know he's sitting back like, yep, I say that all the time. If you say
Yeah,
something, you gotta do it. It's like
yeah,
you have to, you gotta, and that's a promise. Like even when you make promises to yourself,
yeah. Oh,
you
yes,
know,
that's a big one.
yes, you have to
Awesome.
like because and I think we let ourselves down more than we let other people down.
Yes, yes, we do. Man, my wife and I was just talking about that, I think 2 days ago, because, when we talk about integrity and keeping your word, we'll be like, "Oh, I keep my word to other people. I do all this stuff." But for
Mhm.
ourselves, it's so easy to not be accountable. Like, if you set your own goals, like, "I'm gonna wake up early," it may come, "I'm tired, it's fine, I'm not gonna do it today." Or, "Yeah, I'm gonna be at the gym today." "No, it's okay, maybe another day." Like, we say we wanna do things, but we don't keep our word to ourselves, and that's also part of
Yes.
and I think that when we can really keep our word to ourselves, we could be much further ahead as well if we would stick to our goals and everything like that. But when we say we'll do things for ourselves and we don't do them, we're just holding ourselves back. But that's so
Yes.
true.
Yes. I'm learning so much from this conversation. I'm just gonna change my life when I get off of here. I gotta get my life. This is good. This is good. And I saw Miss Kate
Yeah.
Cole's on here. Hey Keisha. Keisha, she said she loved this. She's on here. She's watching us. Rakia said your word is your bond.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes, it
Can you
is.
share with us a particular proud moment or achievement in your life that still stand with you today?
Yeah, a proud moment that stands with me today. That's a good question. I got to think of
Mhm.
that one. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of great things that have happened over the years. And I think I've touched on one earlier. That because this is how I run my business fully now. I would say is really keeping God first and foremost because I didn't
Mhm,
always run my business in this way when I was younger, and that
mhm,
still stays with me today in everything that I do. In how I interact with clients,
mhm,
the integrity we talked about. Whether I'm going to do something or I'm not going to do something, and at the end of the day, whether I'm realize why I'm doing business. Am I really just doing business because I want to chase money? Or am I keeping God first and doing my business as a means just to get money so that I can also be a blessing
mhm.
to others in my household and everything like that? I think I had it skewed before when I first started. It was only about money, and not only that, it wasn't only about money. It was always about selfish money for me. It was always like, what can money do for me? What can I get for myself? What can I expand
Mhm,
into? These type of houses, these type of cars, and
mhm,
then through the renewal of my mind, God helped me to see I was really living a more self-centered lifestyle, But
yes,
when I got to a place where I surrendered fully to God, and started living
mhm,
more for God, I would say it became more, well, I'm blessed to have this business and to run it. How can this business not only impact my household, how can it impact others out there, in many different ways? It could be financially, it could be just like we're talking, it could be coaching, it could be mentorship. How can I serve others with the gifts and talents that God has given me? And
mm,
that only started to happen because I started focusing more on God and what God would have for my life, more than just focusing on money and what money can do for my own life. I was like, I focus on
mhm,
God now and what God would have me do, and I'm led in that way. So I would say I would consider a proud moment was when I came to the realization of I need to really put God first in my business in all areas of my life and live for God as opposed to living for money and cash and all these type of things. So that was a
mhm.
proud moment for me because it forever has shaped how I do everything else, since
Wow.
that. Yeah.
That is awesome because I know I got to that point before, but I'm
Yes.
gonna be candid. I'm gonna be honest. It
Yeah.
is I got there and then I lost it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can be honest with you, just recently I just sat down with myself and say, Yolanda, you got to get back to that place where you are committed to God first.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
I got to the point where if I felt like I was chasing money. It's like money,
Yeah.
money, money.
Yeah.
So recently I just because what happened when COVID hit the church I was attending, it kind of, we no longer have a church where they're doing it online. It's hard to do church online.
Oh
I'm sorry.
yeah, it is. It
It's
is.
hard to do online. So I started attending this other church, and trust me, it was only because my oldest son, like, Mom, I'm ready to go back to church. When your kids tell you it's time to go back to church and they ready to go, you got to get up. You got to get up and go find somewhere to
Yeah.
go. So we
Right.
started going to the church, and I just wanted to be in the background, take my kids to children ministry, and I sit
Yeah.
in the back. I praise God all by myself, and I go get the kids, and I go home. And
Yeah.
I said, Wanda, you need more because I'm not fulfilled. I'm
Yeah.
still having these crazy attitudes. I'm still not, reaching, just really feeling what I need to feel, having negative thoughts, just having negative things. And so I
Right.
recently, even with just seeing things like Keisha started a women's Bible study group that I just joined with her, and then I joined a women's ministry at the church that
Yeah.
I attend, and I met them yesterday. When I met them yesterday, when I tell you, I felt so relieved. So
Mm.
I know that's what I was missing.
Yeah.
So this question is for me. How do
Yeah.
you stay on track? Once
I
you
don't.
get to that place, how do you
Yeah.
stay on track?
Yeah. And I think I may have forgotten really what I just said earlier. So get to the place of which part?
Just stay on track of keeping God in the
Yeah.
head of your life, keeping him,
Yeah.
through everything that you do.
Yeah,
Keep
I would say you really have to be I think is the word, uncompromising. You can't compromise. And this applies to every other area of your life too. And it kind of goes back to motivation. Because okay, I'll say it's really discipline. Yeah, it's discipline because motivation won't always last, but if you have the discipline for something, you will do it and you'll see it through no
Mhm.
matter what. So I think initially it starts with really disciplining yourself. In the early days, it's not always easy, but once you do something long enough and consistently enough, you'll build up a discipline for it. So that when the days come where you don't feel like doing anything, you'll still get up and do it. So I keep myself on track just because I guess over the years I've disciplined myself. There's certain habits, whether it's working out, if you wanted to like say work out or build muscle, you got to eat right. Maybe you got to get enough sleep. Also, you got to be in the gym. In the same way for our faith, it's like, there's certain disciplines also, whether it's reading your word consistently, whether it's surrounding yourself with believers, as you mentioned, on a regular basis, things of that nature. So I had a set of discipline for myself where I would be sure that I am in my word. I am going to church. I am surrounding myself with other believers at Bible studies or life groups or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
And that was what I would say helped me all along the way, because when I really started to really take my faith more seriously and surrender to God, I had such a broken mindset before that. I didn't realize it until afterward that God started to renew it. So I say just the disciplining yourself in these areas will help you last, a longer, because even with trials, I used to be a worrier. I would worry anytime I face any type of situation. And then, when I read James in the Bible, it says, brothers and sisters, consider it all joy when you fall into trials of many kind, because the testing of your faith is meant to produce perseverance. So I started appreciating more the things I've gone through. And I know sometimes they have a saying that says, fake it till you make it. But
Mhm.
sometimes you got to talk yourself into it. It's like you maybe go through things that may be tough. And it's like, no, I've got this. God is with me through this.
Mhm.
He's gonna help me through this. There's a lesson to be learning in this, and just telling yourself this, even if you don't fully believe it. And when you do that enough, you start to realize that things change. Your mindset starts to change also.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
when it's backed by the Word of God as well. So I would say definitely building a discipline in
Mhm.
whatever area you want to grow in. If it's faith, building, like, what discipline do I need to build? Do I need to be consistent with reading my word? Do I need to be consistent with being around other believers? How do I, and come up with a plan? How can I be disciplined in this? Setting up a plan once again for that. If it's losing weight or building muscle, set a plan for that and be disciplined. First 30, 60, 90 days are usually the hardest, but I'm like, put yourself through, because once it becomes a habit, it becomes a lifestyle. And once something becomes a lifestyle for you, it's almost like you can't even imagine it another way. So I tell people there's a time where I would go weeks and I'm like, man, I didn't even open my Bible today. It'd be like, or this week, or weeks or months. And there were times like that. But once I started really taking, and it's not that I wouldn't, the thing is so interesting. It's not that I wasn't even consuming things. I would be reading everything else. I'd read blogs, magazines, and God would point out to me, why aren't you making time for this? But I was making time for everything else. And I had to realize that. So when I realized that, and the Lord showed me, I was like, okay, I gotta be more on this. So that I say my faith is serious, but my actions
Mhm.
aren't showing it. So I really just set a time, whether it's nighttime or morning time, that I would just get in my word, and I was like, I'm gonna do it no matter what. Sometimes in the middle of the afternoon, if I had time, okay, let me get in today. And I just did it often. I would take notes, after doing it, and I got so many things from it, and renewal of the mind from it, it became a lifestyle for me. Words like I can't even imagine missing a whole week. Yeah, there's lifestyle happens, so you can miss your day or two, but missing a whole month or 2 months like I used to do in the past,
Yeah.
I built myself, into it. So I'll say discipline is key in every area of your life, because if motivation isn't there, it's your discipline that's going to see you through.
Mm. Yes, that's that word, discipline. That's the
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
That's the one. That's the one. Well,
yeah.
awesome, awesome. So before we go, can you tell the listeners where they can find you on social media, websites, or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. If you are on Instagram, you can find me just as you see my name in the chat. It's at D Bright Jr. Spelled like DEE Bright Jr. That's my handle for Instagram. My website is www.d, my first name, bright, my last name, associates.com. That's how you can find me online. And Facebook, you can search me up. Wellington Bright. I don't even know what my handle is for Facebook. But yeah, those are ways they can find me and connect with me.
Awesome, awesome. I really, 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 really enjoyed tonight. Thank you so much for joining us at the Journey of Success. But this is our time, you guys. I know y'all don't want to go. I don't want to go either. So we're going to have you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's also a pleasure. Also, I really enjoyed our conversation.
Absolutely. Well, you guys have a good night, and we will see you all on next Thursday. Y'all have a good night.
Go on.